Hi, I'm Kristen. Nice to meet you. Oh, so you live with your mom then? No, I'm not judging. I think a lot of people have to live with their parents for financial reasons these days, actually. Oh, you don't have any financial problems. You just like having someone cook and clean for you. Okay, nice. That's nice. Next. Hi, I'm Kristen. Nice to meet you. What? Women don't usually make you laugh? You find it kind of a turn off. So what kind of women do you date, Scooter? Big tits, big ass, small waist, not opinionated, always looking sexy, preferably under 20, hot, blonde, not a feminist. You know what? You can just give me your number. And if I find a woman that's looking for a balding, ferret-sized man with a personality of a wet blanket and a job that's gonna be obsolete in 5 years, I'm just gonna give her your number and hook you two up. Sounds good? Next, please. Evolution is a hoax? Oh no, please tell me more about your crazy ex. All women are gold diggers. Please tell me more about how much you love Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm vegan. Not eating meat will make me gay? Oh my god, that sounds terrifying. Tarantino is your favorite film director? It's original. Hi, there's a mic here now. So me and my tits that I didn't know I had are bringing you today some cool, quirky ant energy where I'm gonna be talking to you about relationships. Have you ever wondered why you can't find a decent man? Or why do you always get cheated on? Why do you feel like you're always the one that's putting more effort in relationships? If you are queer, this video is simply gonna confirm to you how unacceptable hets are, but if you are hetero, then please stick around because you are in for the journey of a lifetime. It's not gonna be a nice journey, let me tell you that. It never is on this channel. I love the fact that I've made videos about quitting meat, dairy, fast fashion, reducing plastic, reducing traveling, and like now I'm making a video about quitting men. I am going to be referring a lot to gender binaries such as women, men, and that's because I want to discuss mostly the behavior of people that do abide to rigid gender roles, which is the majority of people out there. And I am bringing you research, facts, studies. I'm not just gonna be pulling information out of my... So for all of us single ladies and all of you ladies that are gonna break up with your boyfriends after watching this video, you'll notice that once you become single, you have a lot more free time that you can dedicate to yourself. And what better way to do that than dedicating all that time for self-care, for learning new skills, for getting more creative. And today's sponsor, SkillShare, is the perfect place for doing exactly that. SkillShare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes that can help you have an awesome time, going solo. If you want to process your feelings after a recent breakup in a creative way, I highly recommend the class Art Journaling for Self-Care, 3 exercises for reflection and growth by artist Amanda Rach-Lee. This class has motivated me to start journaling again and using it as an opportunity to integrate a bit of art into that as well. If you're uncertain about what's next, creative challenges and productivity classes can be a great way to help you structure your time and set up achievable goals. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of SkillShare Premium membership, and after that, it's only around $10 a month. So whether you're looking to fend off boredom, focus on self-care through creativity, or join a similarly creative community, SkillShare is the place to keep you learning. So back to the video, I think it's important to first start talking about the historical and anthropological evolution of human relationships, what they were like, and how they evolved to what they look like in the present. So it was commonly thought that prehistoric humans lived in nuclear families similar to those of today, where the man would go out and either hunt or go out to work, and the women would stay home and take care of the kids, take care of the cave. But anthropologist Lewis Morgan questioned that logic in his book, Ancient Society. In the book, he presented the results of his study of the Iroquois, a Native American hunter-gatherer society in upstate New York. The Iroquois lived in large family units based on polyamorous relationships in which men and women lived in general equality. Now, these are obviously the observations of a wealthy white man in the 19th century, and what he perceived as general equality might not actually be what we perceive today as general equality. Let's keep that in mind. But then came another wealthy white man, Friedrich Engels, also the co-author of the Communist Manifesto, to speculate in his book, The Origin of Family, Private Property and the State, that prehistoric societies were, as a matter of fact, living under primitive communism, where families were based on polyamory and in which people enforced equality in their societies. Polyamory helped foster strong networks where it became everyone's responsibility to look after children. More recently, in 2012, Catherine Starkweather and Raymond Hames conducted a survey of examples of non-classical polyandry. Polyandry derives from the Greek word polyandria, and its definition is polygamy in which a woman has more than one husband. And they discovered that the phenomenon existed in many more societies than previously thought. For example, in the Masua tribe in China, there is no shame attached to promiscuity. Masua women have a high level of authority, and children are looked after by its mother and her relatives, while the fathers have no role in the upbringing of the child, which to me sounds like a pretty sweet deal for men. Not so much for women, but okay. Yuval Noah Harari in his book Sapiens also echoes these theories, saying that more patriarchal societies became the norm with the rise of the agricultural revolution, as hunter-gatherer societies evolved into family units that were tied down to a single location. And while men worked the fields or the crops, women stayed indoors raising the kids and maintaining the home. So my personal and very unqualified take on all of this is a little bit different. I don't argue that prehistoric sapiens were probably polyamorous. I also don't argue that it's very possible in many cases that the entire tribe would contribute towards raising children. It wouldn't be the obligation of the mother exclusively. In order to survive, people would have to cooperate together during the much harsher living conditions of prehistoric humans. Probably people didn't have many personal possessions. They shared everything that they had a lot more, and that means also sharing partners. But all of that for me is not enough proof that prehistoric humans were egalitarian. And that's because human anatomy and reproduction in and of itself is rigged against women. So basically, I'm not even coming for men. I am coming for nature. What the fuck, bitch? I thought you were one of us. Nature is not a woman. Nature is definitely a misogynist, let me tell you that. So due to Homo sapiens' unique anatomy, because we stand upright, our hip bones are much narrower, as well as the fact that our so-called superior intelligence has resulted in much bigger skulls, which both of these together make for a pretty deadly combination when it comes to giving birth. My worst nightmare just happened. I was filming the entire video with the wrong settings, and it is what it is, I guess. It is what it is. So not only does pregnancy take a huge toll on the body, it also includes a high risk of death for the mother. And then if the birth is successful, the mother has to take care of a prematurely born mammal that cannot do absolutely anything for itself for a very long time and requires nursing for around 3 years. It's insane. It's not okay. I'm not okay with any of this. More recently, the maternal mortality rate for young first-time mothers in the US is 1.7 to 3.6%, while in Bangladesh, one study found it to be 37%. The mere survival of our species requires constant suffering and sacrifice from humans with wombs. Again, I'm not okay with this. It's not fair. So in prehistoric times, humans with wombs had to either be completely unaware of the fact that pregnancy and reproduction was just a huge risk for them, or they were very much aware of it because, duh, they saw women dying all over the place all the time giving birth, and they just simply chose to ignore that risk? Or we evolved in a way that the ones that did ignore that danger managed to pass on their genes, while the ones that observed that danger were aware of it and didn't want to have anything to do with it never passed on their genes. So people like me just kind of died out. But that also means that the males that got to pass on their genes were the ones that were more capable of ignoring the fact that jizzing in a woman would result in a pregnancy and then a possible death. Let's think about that for a moment. And I might be pulling a muscle here because this is kind of a reach, but could we theorize that human evolution and reproduction favored masochistic females and sadistic males?
Great practical joke, Jim. Got me go to the annex. No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And that would also sort of mean that patriarchy is part of a human survival strategy. But these are just all my unqualified thoughts and observations on this topic, and not meant to be taken seriously unless you want to. I also think that these male anthropologists' observations of these supposedly egalitarian, utopian, polyamorous, prehistoric tribes are in a lot of ways based on personal biases that they themselves have. And they imagine our past as it being a little more fair than how society is structured today. You know, this is, again, another stretch, but I think that a lot of male anthropologists want to kind of idealize our past in order to assume that at some point men were not partaking in the oppression of women. And they do that by assuming that it wasn't always like this, that men weren't always like this. Because if we can imagine that we were once the good guys, then we can also open the door to the opportunity that we can become the good guys again. And then another personal bias that I think might exist is the assumption that humans are naturally good. We have been set astray by things like the patriarchy, capitalism, war, racism, pollution, greed. But when we first started out in our more natural form, we were pure and good, which you already know my thoughts on that. I think we are pure garbage. We're nasty little hairless apes that are running around hoarding things and just causing havoc to literally every living thing and every natural habitat around us. Again, these are my personal, unqualified thoughts on this topic. I'm gonna be here all night. This is taking forever. I need an assistant. I can't afford an assistant. Now let's move on to the next chapter, which is polyamory and female homosexuality. So if humans really were these horny little polyamorous apes running around banging each other, we know that that's really not the case anymore. With the rise of agriculture and religion, most societies completely banned polyandry, and only a few still practice patriarchal polygamy. But why did this happen, and who does it benefit? Let's look at some studies and start putting the puzzle pieces together. I also asked you a few questions on Instagram in regards to the topics discussed today, so keep an eye out for the poll results throughout the video. Many studies have shown a direct link between female education and fertility. The more educated and therefore empowered a woman is, the less children she will have, creating a clear explanation about why girls, and especially poor girls, weren't allowed to become as educated as their male counterparts. I asked you on Insta, do you want to have your own biological children? And 64% of you said yes. This article on The Guardian talks about how women are happier without children or a spouse, while men are the happiest when they are married. They take less risks, they earn more money at work, and they live a little longer. Women's health, on the other hand, is not affected by marriage, but it seems like the burden of mothering their kids and their grown male husband looks like it has more of a negative effect on their happiness compared to single, child-free women. So I asked you, are you in a relationship? 53% of you said yes, while 47% of you said no. So it's almost half and half. I also asked you, are you or would you like to one day get married? And 68% of you said yes. Some other interesting observations are that women are more likely to invest the money that they make towards their families compared to men. Children are less likely to experience food insecurity when their parents' pooled income is controlled by their mother rather than their father. Men are more likely to spend family money on themselves rather than their family. I don't know about you, but this to me sounds like OG gold digger behavior. We're so much more concerned about where the money of a rich old man is gonna go than the fact that a lot of men seem very comfortable with wasting away family money that's supposed to go towards their own children and using that money for their gambling addiction or for drugs. A New York Times article also reports that while men on Tinder swipe right 46% of the time, women do it only 14% of the time. So it seems like women are attracted to a much narrower pool of men. A study from the University of Essex also found that women are bisexual or gay, but rarely straight. Another study found that just 66% of women reported being predominantly not attracted to the same sex. The other question I asked on Instagram is, do you identify as heterosexual? 61% of you said yes, 39% of you said no. Have you ever been attracted to someone of the same sex? Now here what I wanted to say was someone of the same gender, but even saying gender excludes non-binary people, and 65% of you said yes, 35% of you said no. Now, when it comes to polyamory, most people do not identify as polyamorous, but an interesting kind of test that we can do to figure out if we're just a little bit polyamorous is this one. So basically, you have two people, identical personalities, identical levels of niceness, etc. They only look different physically. One of them looks like Simon from Bridgerton, and the other one just looks like a bridge troll. So do you share Simon from Bridgerton with someone else, or you get a bridge troll exclusively to yourself? I'm definitely sharing Simon. That guy is fine, damn. I asked you on Insta, are you polyamorous? And only a very small percentage of you said yes, 8%. Everyone else said no. Now, what I find fascinating is the fact that every single part of the way humans evolved went against all of the studies and the information that I just shared with you. Arranged marriages allowed all men to get a slice of the pie, which is having a woman as property that you use to spread your inferior genes around. Only recently have some women become liberated after thousands of years of being forced into relationships while they were underage with men that they didn't choose and or want. And what has happened? Straight away, incels have started popping out. Men that are furious that they are left on the shelf because they are taught by thousands of years of misogynistic culture that it's their right to own a woman. In a scenario where instead of patriarchy, we got matriarchy, a society that didn't shame that big part of women that are attracted to other women, and perhaps even encouraged and normalized that attraction, we would definitely be looking at a very different present. All women would definitely be educated to the furthest extent of their desires. Around 40% of them would probably be in homosexual relationships. The birth rate would definitely drop based on those two things alone. And then the remaining 60% of women that may or may not be in polyamorous relationships with men would be having on average 1 to 2 children, which, if you do the math, is not enough to sustain the human population. And that matriarchal society would eventually die out, or they would be taken over by the neighboring patriarchal societies that have their baby-making slaves, producing a bunch of soldiers that would just eradicate everyone in the matriarchal societies. Maybe that's actually what even happened. So yeah, basically our species can only survive through the oppression and subjugation of people with wombs. And you're gonna go in the comments and dare tell me the humans are not evil. Like, come on. The only reason why we've managed to survive this far is because we've been so good at oppressing people with wombs. Is it too much of a stretch? I don't know. I hope it is. So let's move on to the next chapter, which is the impact of feminism on modern relationships. So I am about to say something a little bit controversial, just a tiny bit. Please don't cancel me, okay? I don't want to get canceled today. I'm not ready to go. So I think that feminism, when it is applied intersectionally through taking into consideration race, class, disability, sexual orientation, then it does result into actual female liberation. But I do think that a half-assed version of feminism that doesn't take the above factors into consideration might actually have more of a negative impact on women rather than a positive one. Don't kill me for saying this. But yeah, that's the hill I'm willing to die on. It was nice knowing ya. So to make my case, one example are TERFs. TERF stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. And TERFs are fighting to make the already very long, strenuous, and traumatizing process of transitioning. They want to make it even harder for trans people. They want to prevent them from having access to hormone therapy, as well as saying that they don't belong in women's spaces or that the mere existence of transgender people harms women's rights. You can learn a lot more about this topic in ContraPoint's video about J.K. Rowling. Feminism in this example is used as a tool to oppress trans people. Another example is white feminism and its resulting oppression of people of color. There are a lot of problematic aspects to white feminism, but I think the more dangerous aspect of it is its support for violent policing and its support in general of the police. Their idea of fighting crime and violence towards women is through allocating more funds towards the police, not taking into consideration that allocating funds towards less wealthier communities can actually have a much more positive effect in reducing crime. They also see people of color as a threat, and they're very comfortable with calling the police on them merely because they're existing in the same space as them. Finally, I want to discuss my personal observations on the impact of feminism on relationships between men and women here in Greece. But depending on the country you live in, you're either gonna very much identify with what I'm saying or only slightly identify with what I'm saying. So here in Greece, I grew up watching pretty much every single person, every single couple. Both parents would come back from work. The husband would sit down either on the table or at the couch and watch TV, while the wife would go into the kitchen, make food, serve the food on the table for the men to eat. Then the woman, the wife, would clean up the table, wash the dishes, do the laundry, iron the clothes, clean the house, and take care of the kids. All while she worked at the same time, a full 9-to-5 job. And this is something that is happening with pretty much most couples here in Greece till this day. And definitely something that is happening in many other very patriarchal countries. And so these wives and husbands had kids, and these kids grew up in families where they saw this behavior and perceived it as normal. And what did they do? Of course, replicated it in their own relationships. I grew up in a family that my dad worked and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So she would cook, she would clean. She has 3 kids, and over a very long period of time, so pretty much her entire life, she was raising children, or trying to at least. So both of my parents had an equal amount of downtime. Not everything was thrown on my mom's plate while my dad would sit and watch TV or hang out with his friends all the time. And on top of that, I would kind of like bitch to my mom and call her lazy because she was a stay-at-home mom, only to grow up and realize that house chores and maintaining a house is actually incredibly time-consuming, and it really fucking sucks. I haven't raised any kids, but it seems like a lot of hard work. Way too much hard work, in my opinion. And you're not paid for any of it. But then in these patriarchal societies, when a woman focuses on work and has someone else take care of the kids, she's labeled as a bad mom. But if she stays at home and is a housemaker, then she is lazy and a loser. And then if she stays away from all of that trouble, stays single, never gets married, never has kids, she's labeled a spinster. Like, we cannot win. I also asked you, was your mom a stay-at-home mom or a working mom? And 74% of you said that you were raised by a working mom. Do you believe raising children and maintaining a home is a full-time job? And 84% of you said yes. I totally agree with that. I think it's more than a full-time job. It's like 2 full-time jobs. Is it okay for a mother to focus on work while another guardian takes care of the kids? And 92% of you said yes. So the first point I want to make is that I feel like feminism kind of failed the moment that they started fighting for women to enter the workforce instead of first fighting for women to start getting handsomely compensated for raising people. Moreover, this fight for women to join the workforce mostly resulted in the doubling of the workforce, which led to more competition, which led to way lower wages. Obviously, I'm not saying the women should go back in the kitchen. I'm simply saying that a lot of parameters were not taken into consideration. The second point that I'm trying to make is that feminism resulted in applauding the woman that does it all, that has the job, that has the kids, and these women that do it all raised entitled sons that kind of expect the same thing from their partners, sons that never question the unfairness of their family unit and instead reaped the benefits of it. They gladly sat at the table with their father as their mother and sister set the table and served them food, cleaned the table, and washed their dishes and their dirty underwear. These sons have no problem questioning this arrangement because they know that they will find a clown out there to do everything that their mother did for them. Because even though women are now considered legally equal to men, we are still living in a society that has mentally shackled women to the point where they don't know that they deserve any better. But are things actually about to change? So for the first time in my life, I'm seeing women publicly go off on men on TikTok like I've never seen it before. I remember only a few years ago, if you said anything remotely positive about feminism on YouTube, you'd probably end up in a compilation video called "Dumb Fat Feminazi Gets Destroyed by Jordan Peterson." And that video would get millions of views and would literally have less dislikes than my videos get. But now girls on TikTok are chanting in unison, "Kill all men." Men are trash. All men have is the audacity. Wives are exposing their husband's inability to pick up their clothes or throw their Q-tips away, and everyone in the comments is shouting that they need to dump their ass. Girls that go against girl code and talk positively about men are ostracized and labeled as pick-me's. And most of us that have good taste end up on gay TikTok. I live in constant fear of straight TikTok. I never want to end up there.
I've never met anyone else like you. And I don't think I ever will. I'm not saying that because it's cliche.
I saw another TikTok about this, and it was about how you rarely see an attractive man on the street, but most women you see are relatively gorgeous and beautiful. And all the men in the comments, or a lot of men in the comments, were fed up, and they were like, it's because girls wear makeup, it's because girls tanned. No. It's not because of the things that we do for our self-confidence and our self-esteem. It's because men have been socialized to not have a standard. There is no standard for a man because men don't even know how to wipe their asses for the most part.
What's up, y'all? Enjoy another episode of Men.
Never date a woman over the age of 30. Trust me, you will live to regret it. It is a bad investment. It is a waste far past her prime. What you got to understand about a woman, what they have to offer, it's two things. Number one, their fertility. Number two, their looks, their beauty.
If you're a woman in a relationship with a man, don't pay for shit. Not one thing. You shouldn't be paying for anything. As long as we live in a capitalistic, patriarchal society, we're never going to be equal to them. So your individual act of going halvesies so that you're in an equal relationship, it's not doing what you think it's doing. The least that they can do is pay for you to eat.
No new news that men tend to project and be hypocritical, but these are some of my favorite examples. The concept that women are shallow, but this is a woman's attractiveness to men as she gets older, and this is men's. The concept that women are worse drivers, but men pay more in insurance and cause more accidents. The fact that women are often considered illogical, but if they were actually paid how they worked, they would be paid more than male lawyers based on performance. There's just a little extra on that. If male doctors acted as well as female doctors, they could be potentially saving more lives. Some data? So ironically, women were more likely to rate themselves as performing worse, while men were more likely to be overconfident in self-assessment. Also, the concept that we talk more. Maybe we just talk about our feelings more. Lastly, who's more emotional? Control yourself.
One thing I'm not here for is this new trend of shaming women that are into tall guys, claiming that it's supposedly this internalized misogyny where they want to feel small and weak. And I just think that's total bullshit. Honestly, I don't think it's just bullshit. I think it's literal incel propaganda. Like, girl, just because you're comfortable dating your schmoll, bean, schmeagle-sized mousy boy that lives in the wall and eats cheese doesn't mean that you have to bully the rest of us into liking that kind of thing. The only man shorter than me that I would date is Peter Dinklage. That's on period. I feel like this is obvious, but just in case, a little friendly reminder, you do not owe ugly men or short men or poor men a favor to date them or sleep with them if you don't want to. And just do not shame other women for not finding your boyfriend attractive. Like, just because you're into bestiality doesn't mean the rest of us are. Oh no, the candle's about to die out. I don't have patience for this right now. Okay, so this might come across as a little bit narcissistic, but I think I'm pretty awesome. Like, I think I'm relatively attractive. I now have boobs, which I didn't have like 3 hours ago, but okay. Also, I'm like relatively smart as well. Pretty funny. Have a little bit of a personality there. All in all, I think I'm swell. And when it comes to dating, I'm looking for someone to match my awesomeness, you know? And obviously it's a lot harder, especially in a country like this, where men do not see me as their equal. They think they do, but their beliefs and their behavior shows otherwise. What I've observed, though, is that a lot of women really undervalue themselves. They cannot see their own awesomeness. And I kind of feel like female self-esteem is the biggest hurdle that we need to overcome. For me, that's really not an issue anymore. I know I put myself down a lot in my videos, but I just like making self-deprecating humor. I'm perfectly happy being alone. I used to find it so terrifying, the worst possible scenario that could happen to me, until I realized that being with a man that doesn't respect me is actually the worst scenario that could happen. Being alone actually is pretty great. I have a lot of free time. My emotional state is a lot more stable, and there's a lot less drama in my life to the point where I'm bored. So yeah, Greek men are pretty much off the table for me at this point. I would be dating women maybe, but we're in the middle of a panoramic, so that's not really an option right now. So some of you might be relating to the particular struggles that I've had, and others might be thinking, you know, Kristen, you're being too pessimistic. You know, there are good men out there. You're just not looking hard enough. My boyfriend is actually amazing. I mean, first off, I probably am not gonna find your boyfriend as attractive as you find him. But even if he is as hot and as amazing as you're claiming he is, girl, you locked that man down in high school. I'm almost 30. None of those men are available anymore. They were all taken in high school, and y'all got him and you never let him go, or you found them and you made them amazing. And personally, finding a man and making him a certain way is not something that I'm interested in at all. Like, I am not the Build-A-Man clinic. I'm not gonna do that for free anymore. No, thank you. Secondly, to all the ladies that are in a relationship with that 0.5% of handsome men that are respectful towards women that tell me, you know, you're gonna find someone. I'm like, where? Because I see you dating one, and you don't look very interested in sharing him. Girl, you're talking about socialism, but you're not sharing your man with the rest of us? What's up with Socialize that D, honey. Socialize that D. And you're probably not like, okay, never mind. Enjoy being alone forever. You go, girl. Never date another man again. Men are trash. But don't you worry, because even for those of you that have found your supposed greatest guy in the world, we all thought we did at some point. I'm coming across as so bitter right now. So you found that great guy and you're ready to pledge eternal love to each other and you're gonna promise to stay faithful forever. Ooh, have I found some statistics that you're not gonna like. So keep in mind that the divorce rate in Europe is around 45%. So that's optimistic. The odds are in your favor. The fact that the divorce rates are so high and the fact that weddings never have good vegan food is the reason why I don't go to weddings anymore. Sorry, I'm not gonna go to your party of performative love and heterosexuality that's gonna end up in divorce anyways, just to eat stale potatoes and bitter wine. Like, fuck off. And also keep in mind that 1 in 4 married men have extramarital affairs. So think of 4 men that are married that you know. 1 of them is probably cheating on his wife. And then for women, that's 15% of married women. Love and monogamy is a lie. It's so late. I've been filming for so long. I think you can tell that this is derailing completely. You might be thinking at this point, that is enough, Kristen. I got it. I'm not breaking up with my boyfriend though. Or I'm married with 2 kids. Why are you trying to tear my family apart like this? I'm just gonna read you what I wrote straight from the script. Cause yesterday's Kristen was fucking savage. Oh my God, what did I write? I said, maybe you're not ready to quit men yet. And you know what? I don't care if you quit men or not. Carry on with your clownery. Oh my God, what was I on when I wrote this? And then after that, I have a list of questions for you to ask your partner that are basically gonna ruin your relationship. So let's go, you know, why not? So basically I have a set of 15 questions that I have developed all on my own from my decades experience of dating. Not really. So yeah, you share these questions with your partner. It's extra interesting if that partner identifies as a man. And his answers to these questions are going to determine if you want to stay happily partnered with them or break up with them or stay with them and just slowly start putting on your little clown costume. So ask away and then come back to the video and let me know, how did it go down? I am so curious to know. So yeah, I came pretty hard for men in this video, not gonna lie. I know I have a very, very small male audience. I know that the real kings out there do not get offended when women don't say the nicest things about men. It's the insecure men and the problematic men, and usually the misogynistic men, that get offended. And if you're not offended, here's your crown. There you go. You deserve it. Thanks so much for watching. Like this video, subscribe for more content like this. And most importantly, if you can, share this video around if you find it interesting. Thank you so much to my patrons for supporting this channel and making these videos possible. And thank you to SkillShare for sponsoring a video like this. SkillShare is really saying yes to any idea I pitch them. So yeah, definitely check out SkillShare in the description box below. And that is it. Stale.